Throughout history, archaeologists have made strange discoveries from ancient civilizations, and very often these cannot be explained, either due to the fact that they're out-of-place artifacts, or because their true purpose is unknown. Some of the most amazing discoveries were found by accident, while others took decades to fully excavate. More strange discoveries are constantly being made, giving us even further insight into the history of our planet. Number 5. In August of 2018, as Europe was experiencing a record-breaking drought, the waterline of the Elbe River in Czechia started to drop to its lowest level in more than 500 years, and the river revealed a set of strange discoveries with creepy and chilling messages. As the water receded, a set of inscriptions were found on boulders, known as hunger stones, and they revealed themselves for the first time in centuries, with the oldest of these dating back to 1616. This particular stone contains records of droughts in the area as far back as 1417, and includes the eerie message, "If you see me, weep." Another hunger stone that was discovered in Germany carries a similar message from the same year that reads, "If you will again see this stone, so you will weep." So shallow the water was in the year 1417, making it clear that Europe saw very little rain in 1417. There are various reasons for the desperate warnings. When rainfall was low, crops languished, and people from the area knew that there would not be much food to eat. Dropping water levels also meant that the river trade and transport were hampered, causing massive losses to families that lived on the riverbanks. Added to that is the fact that the price of food would be much higher, further adding to the misery of the people who lived in the area. The stones serve as a warning that if the waterline fell to the same levels, hard times would be ahead for those living in the area, in the past anyway, as rainfall was essential to their survival. But not all of the 12 discovered stones contain messages of doom and gloom, with one reading, quote, "Don't cry, girl, don't fret. When it's dry, just spray your field wet." Number 4. In 1998, an electrical engineer named John J. Williams was on an excursion in a remote area of North America when he made a strange ancient discovery that has left many people baffled, since it should theoretically not exist. The Williams Enigmalith is a solid piece of round granite, but what makes it fascinating is the fact that it contains 3 metal prongs that closely resemble a 3-pronged electrical plug, similar to the ones we use in our homes every day. Williams has refused to reveal the exact location of where he found the strange object, as he fears the site could be set upon by other would-be archaeologists looking for similar out-of-place artifacts. Many scientists have written off the finding as a hoax, but Williams maintains that it's real, and has stated that anyone is welcome to study it, under the conditions that he's present at the time. The rock must not be broken, and he does not have to fit the bill for the research. He has, in fact, had it analyzed by a geologist and an engineer, who found no evidence of it being fake. When the stone underwent geological analysis, it was found to be around 100,000 years old, though this seems implausible as mankind hadn't developed such tools at the time. Williams has also stated that he will not allow the object to be broken open, but when it was X-rayed, it was found to contain an internal structure that holds the matrix component of the 3 prongs. This has led Williams to believe that he accidentally discovered an ancient relic that defies our understanding of the advancement of technology, or that it may be of extraterrestrial origin. Some people have theorized that scientists are hesitant to study the strange item because they're afraid of what they might discover. If it's found to be genuine, it would cause uproar in the scientific community, since such technology should not have existed back then. Williams has stated that the stone is for sale for $500,000, and he's currently looking for open-minded individuals to thoroughly examine the piece in an attempt to uncover its mysterious origins once and for all. Number 3. In 1987, Excavations that were being carried out by a team of archaeologists in a system of caves on Mount Owen in New Zealand uncovered an ancient creepy discovery that took them completely by surprise. In low visibility inside the cave, they found an animal's claw, and at first they believed it to be from a creature that met its end in the cave recently, since it still contained some of the animal's skin. But upon closer inspection, they were shocked to find that it resembled the appendage of a dinosaur, and that it had been perfectly preserved in the darkness of the cave. When the claw was taken to be analyzed, their amazement only grew, as it was found to be a moa bird claw dating back 3,500 years. The moa bird became extinct centuries ago, and so finding such a well-preserved claw was truly unbelievable. The first of the moa bird species appeared sometime around 18.6 million years ago, evolving into at least 10 different species. They eventually became extinct thanks to the fastest human-induced megafauna extinction on record. At the time, the moa was the largest bird species on Earth, with some reaching over 10 feet in height. These birds had no wings or tails, and they lived in cooler parts of New Zealand in higher altitudes. The first of its fossils being found on a riverbank in 1839 by a member of the indigenous Maori tribe. Since then, thousands more fossils have been found, but none were as well preserved as the Mount Owen moa. Today, the moa is considered a perfect nominee for cloning revival, as DNA still exists in some of the well-preserved remains that have been found. Many of the plants that it relied on for food still exist, and hence it would flourish in the wild. The idea gained further traction when a member of the New Zealand Parliament, Trevor Mallard, stated that the bird's revival over the next 50 years would be a very viable option. Number 2. In 1942, Carl Richard Lepsius, a German Egyptologist, published the first translation of a series of funerary texts that had been discovered in coffins and burial chambers in Egypt during the Middle Ages. He named the collection the Book of the Dead, though a more direct translation would read Book of Coming Forth by Day. The text was originally painted onto the walls of the pharaoh's burial chamber, but eventually it was copied onto papyrus and placed inside the burial chambers of many others. Many copies of the book have been found, but none contain all of the 200 chapters that are known to exist. The book was meant to serve as a guide for the deceased person as they passed into the next world, and contained various magic spells, but before they were translated, they were thought to be the equivalent of the Bible or the Quran. Today, 192 spells have been identified across the various scripts, and they serve multiple purposes. Some claim to give the deceased person knowledge of the hereafter. As an example, spell 17 gives a long description of the first Egyptian god, who was said to have created himself. Some of the other spells aimed to ensure that certain parts of the person would be well preserved and reunited with them in the afterlife. Others claim to give them the ability to control certain elements of the underworld around them. There are also spells to keep the person protected from evil forces, and to guide them through the underworld and its many hindrances. Two of the most famous spells deal with the person's judgment upon arrival in the afterlife, a ritual called the Weighing of the Heart. The books have been divided into 4 sections, each containing a number of chapters. Chapters 1 through 16 deal with descension into the afterlife and gaining control of one's speech and movement. Chapters 17 through 63 explain how the gods and the underworld originated. Chapters 64 through 129 describe how the person will travel through the sky in the sun arc during the day, and when the sun sets, they will travel to the underworld to be judged by Osiris. Chapters 130 to 189 describe how the deceased, having been vindicated, becomes one of the gods. These chapters also guide the person on protective jewelry, where food can be found, and where to find important places in the hereafter. It's thought that most people who owned one of these books were part of the social elite in Egypt at the time, as they were once only written for royalty. At first, most of the books were owned by men, but women were included in the ritual later on. Some of the papyri that have been found are around 1.3 feet long, with the longest found book measuring in at over 131 feet. They were often written by scribes who offered customers different packages to choose from, each containing the desired number of spells. The more spells included in the book, the more expensive it was, though every book contains spell 125, which guides the person to the afterlife. Number 1. In 1938, a Chinese archaeologist named Chi Pu-te was excavating a site near the border of Tibet when he made a series of creepy and amazing discoveries. His first discovery was even rows of graves. Each of the graves contained a skeleton that measured just 4 feet in height. But what made the discovery strange was that the remains had abnormally large skulls, and he was left baffled. On the walls of a neighboring cave, he found rock paintings that showed beings wearing large helmets surrounded by planets, stars, and the sun, the moon, and the earth. He'd made a truly strange discovery, but as he ventured further into the cave, he found something even more bizarre. On the floor of the cave, he found a series of 716 circular discs made of stone, each containing small hieroglyphic inscriptions. He collected the discs and took them to the Beijing University, where they lay unexamined until 1958. This is when a professor decided to study them more closely, and he found that they were at least 12,000 years old. But it was when he started to translate the hieroglyphics that he realized just how strange the discovery was. The discs told the tale of the origin of an alien race known as the Dropa, and explained that a spaceship carrying a number of aliens crash-landed on Earth, leaving them stranded. The Dropa that survived the crash were either hunted down by the Ham tribe that lived in the area at the time, or intermarried and made to adapt to life on Earth. In 1974, an Austrian engineer was given the opportunity to photograph 2 of the discs while on a guided tour of the Bampo Museum in Zhang. Unfortunately, the flash from his camera obscured the hieroglyphics on the disc, and by 1994, the discs were no longer at the museum, and their current whereabouts are unknown. This has led many people to believe that the discs never actually existed, and that it was a mixture of urban legend and a hoax. Others, however, insist that they are real, and that their existence has been covered up by the authorities. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knots, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.